Hey, running friends. Welcome to the Wrinkled Runner podcast. I'm Sherry, the Wrinkled Runner. I'm over 50 and I love to run wherever I go, but Buffalo, New York is my home. If you are looking to start to run or you're an older runner, this podcast is especially for you, so subscribe now. I love to help people get running and keep running. Today I'm going to go over the track and how you can use it for your own running. Even if you're a beginner or haven't done workouts before, if you know the basics, you can utilize the track as a controlled environment, which is beneficial for various runs that have some purpose to them. For those of us that are recreational runners, it can be intimidating to even think about heading to the high school or, wherever there's a track for you to get onto. Until I was a coach, the thought of track workouts actually never even entered my mind. I figured the stops and starts of traffic road running were just the norm, and I don't even think I knew anyone was allowed to use a track, actually, unless they were, a high school student or college student or, part of a running group that was able to use the track because they had permission to. Of course, that would actually be the first order of business, is to see what tracks are available to the public in your area, and also if there are periods of time when you can't use it. So in my area in Buffalo, there is one about 4 miles from me that doesn't get much use early in the morning, so that's where I meet my clients anywhere from 6 to 8 a.m. because I know that there's not going to be a lot of people there, a lot of people trying to get workouts. As far as I know, no schools use it that early, even during the school year. So that's where I meet clients who are going to be doing track workouts there. And I had to do some research for that to find out what tracks allow the public to use. And there are some tracks ever since COVID that actually, pre-COVID, they allowed the public to use, and since then they haven't. So that's just something you're going to have to Google in your area and try and figure out what can and can't be used. If you've been on a track, or if you've ever seen one, even just on TV, you know that there are numbers and lanes all around. So we just finished the Paris Olympics, so if you watched any of the track games, it's probably pretty fresh in your mind, that picture in your head of what a track actually looks like. So the biggest thing to know is that lane 1 is exactly 400 meters. The other lanes get longer and longer if you were to start right where the lane 1 start point is. And I'll link you in the show notes to a resource that gives you all the numbers. But for this discussion, we are going to talk about some of the etiquette surrounding using the track, some of the ways you can build a track workout for yourself, and a few other things. So the actual lanes and how much each one goes around might not be important to you for this discussion, but like I said, I'll link you to the show notes so that you can actually see what the precise measurements are for the track for each of the different lanes. So when you first go to the track, if there are others there, you're going to need to know a few niceties. So a big thing is that lane 1 is for fast runners. One of my pet peeves when I'm at the track with an athlete is that there are some people who come who are walkers who they just start walking in lane 1. And I have actually had my fastest runner already running in lane 1, and in comes a walker that will start right up in lane 1, and even when my runner comes up behind them and whooshes past them, my runner is the one who will have to go into lane 2 to avoid a collision, and they're going to stubbornly stay in lane 1 even though it's apparent that we are already utilizing it. And the track that I use has 8 lanes, and so it's kind of a peeve of mine that the people who own the track don't post rules that, if you're walking, don't pick lane 1. That's not to diss walkers. I think it's important, and I think people who come and walk early in the morning, I think that's awesome. But I also think you should know the rules of the road when it comes to that. It's like, as a runner, I can't tell you the number of bikers who have come at me when there's a clearly marked bike lane and then there's a pedestrian lane, And there are these bikers who will come right at me, and I've had actually some bikers yell at me that I shouldn't be where I am, even though I'm in the pedestrian section, but they don't understand how bike lanes work, or like bike lanes in conjunction with a pedestrian lane. But they're also dressed in full kit as if they're running the tour, as if they're biking the Tour de France. So that is kind of a pet peeve of mine, is when people are acting like they know what's what when they don't, and I'm getting yelled at for doing the right thing when they're the ones who are in the wrong. So anyway, that rant's over. But if you ride a bike and you're wearing full kit, please learn the rules of the road and what you're actually supposed to be doing. So if that happens to you when somebody is slower and using lane 1, just move over to lane 2 to avoid a collision, because that will actually then give you a smoother run so that you're not having to jump into a different lane. I tell my clients just to move over when that happens. So if you've never used a track before, just know that lots of walkers actually use the track. So as a runner, even if you aren't super fast, you should feel very comfortable there. If you are fast, use lane 1 if no other faster runners are there. If there are, settle into a lane and use that one. If you happen to be using lane 1 or any lane, if the track is busy and someone yells lane or track at you, they're just letting you know that they're going to pass you. They're really not trying to be rude, but if you don't know that and someone's like screaming track at you or lane at you, you might think that they're just trying to get you to get out of their way and like being rude, but they're really not. They're just trying to let you be aware that they are there. And if they are running faster than you, maybe move over to another lane so that they can have that track for their workout. When you run on a track, the direction is actually pretty set. So it's counterclockwise. There are some instances, so say a runner who uses the track a lot and needs to balance out the body, so to speak, where you might see someone actually running clockwise. But in reality, I actually haven't ever seen that. But it might happen. So if that does happen and somebody is running clockwise when it's supposed to be counterclockwise, just give them the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to kind of balance out their body a little bit and run in the opposite direction, just so that their bodies aren't constantly doing the same thing over and over, because we do get kind of set in our ways. And if you don't introduce the opposite to your bodies, say we run a race that all of a sudden we're not making right or left turns all the time, that can be detrimental. So if others are running at the track, don't stop abruptly, and also look both ways before walking or exiting or crossing over lanes. So this is track etiquette and race etiquette also, by the way, because you don't want to be cause of collision. So if you are in a race, protocol says to raise your hand and kind of move off to the side if you're going to stop, instead of just stopping abruptly. A lot of people don't actually know that, and so if somebody stops abruptly in front of you, it can cause a pretty good collision and also mess somebody up if they're actually going for time for things. So just be aware of how many people are on the track, and that if you need to get off of the track or, stop running or whatever, that you kind of make yourself either go over towards the middle of the track, which is usually a grassy area, or off the track completely or into another lane. It just depends on where you are oriented, and of course, as always, just be aware of your surroundings. Every once in a while you might see a cone in lane 1 especially, and this is because that lane might need some love, because a lot of people use that lane, and with the running shoes pounding on it and just going around and around, sometimes that lane will need to have some work done on it. So if there's a cone in lane 1, don't move it and don't run on it. Just pick a different lane. That lane's going to be getting some maintenance, and it'll be ready to go probably in the next week, 2 weeks, whatever. So those are some basic rules. And after learning that, maybe you do want to try a track workout. So what would that look like? If you want an easy intro to track, you could run a mile easy, which would roughly be 4 times around the track, and then run hard for 1 lap, which is 400 meters, which is a bit less than a quarter mile if you're American, and then run another lap easy, and then run another lap hard, and do that 4 times. So that's going to give you another 2 miles. So you're going to finish up with a mile cool down or 4 laps easy. Now, if you're not in lane 1, that distance isn't going to be exact, but if you don't understand the stagger system and the lines associated with that, it's kind of hard to explain that over a podcast. So check the link to understand, all the different measurements for around the track. But unless you're super type A OCD, the beauty of that type of workout is you only need to remember the specifics of how many times around the track and what your pace range is. And then you can duplicate that workout, whatever track that you may be on, to see how you progress. So the only lane you'd have to remember is what number you're in. So say you ran that workout where you're running 4 laps in lane 3, and then you're running 1 lap hard, 1 lap easy 4 times, and then running another 4 times easy at the end for a cool down. You can always go to any track available and use lane 3, do that workout, and then look back at how you completed it the last time you did it to be able to see your progress. You can duplicate that track workout. So in the show notes, I will also give you links for other track workouts that you might want to try. The main thing with this episode is just to get you to understand how to utilize the track and the different rules associated with it, and to maybe give you some confidence to go and try it out. I mean, you can always go to a track, run your workout and try it out. No matter what you do on the track, if you do it confidently, no one is going to question what you're doing. So get some confidence in utilizing that. It's a different way to run, and it doesn't have to be intimidating, and can be a fun way to introduce speed training. Variety is great for keeping you interested, and running on a track is a new thing to explore. So try that out and see if incorporating track workouts is something that can motivate you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you know another runner who could benefit from today's topic, go ahead and share it. Do you have any running questions? You can ask me. Email me at sherry@wrinkledrunner.com, and if I can't answer your question, I will do the research to find the answer and share it with you. The questions I get from listeners like you help me develop episodes, so please don't be shy. You can sign up for my once-a-month newsletter using the link provided so that you can have all the Wrinkled Runner resources from the past month all in one place. I also have opened up my virtual coaching in addition to coaching one-on-one with those in the Buffalo, New York area. So head to my coaching page on the Wrinkled Runner website, which I will, of course, link to, and check out how we may be able to work together. Until next Monday, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the run.